We begin with an invocation, which is based on one single note. All the instruments, all the voices on the same plane. Like musical prayer.
Sarve Santu Niramaya.
So then we have whatever kind of rhythmic sequence we could put together. We had tabla bowls and clog dancing, right? I was, as the conductor and leader, the sort of musical ombudsman.
People emigrate for all kinds of reasons. In the US right now, the social pressures demonizing and degrading immigrants are intense. But it doesn't have to be like that. What if we imagined our multi-ethnic, multilingual society as an orchestra, making songs that brought us together instead of keeping us apart? This multinational immigrant orchestra isn't just a fantasy. It's actually happened on 2 continents, thanks to the imagination and leadership of Willy Schwarz, a Chicago native now living in Bremen, whose parents were refugees from war-torn Europe.
My father was born in 1908 in Milano, Italy. Though Jewish, he was subject to compulsory military service in Mussolini's army. After graduating from the Polytechnical University, he found a job designing bridges in far-off Iran. He worked together there with a German engineer named Joachim Leppmann, my mother's elder brother. My mother, Andrea, was born in 1913 in Berlin. And after Hitler came to power, her father sent her to Iran to join her brother. There she met my dad. Her family lost everything as the screws slowly tightened back in Germany. 2 of her brothers escaped to America, and 1 stayed in Germany and was eventually carted off to Auschwitz and murdered in 1942. My parents went back to Europe, got married in Italy, and had my sister Janina in 1939. They managed to leave Italy on the very last passenger ship to cross the Atlantic, arriving in New York in midwinter and traveling on to Chicago.
A newlywed couple with a baby girl, forced to flee to a faraway world. They were sad to leave, but they felt no shame. They lost their land, but they kept their name. A January storm whipped up the tide, the huge ship slipping from side to side. 12 long days on the open sea, and the night spent dreaming of a life that's free. Out on the ocean, great wide ocean, my father and my mother out on the ocean, leaving home.
My father took a job in the little town of Holland, Michigan, and the family tried to settle into American life. I was born the 5th child in 1949. Growing up, immigrant trauma was a part of my life. My parents had to learn English at the same time as my older sister, who rebelled by falling in love with hillbilly music. My three brothers became as American could be: fishing, hunting, baseball, football, hot rods, none of which were activities my mother and father could participate in. And both my parents imbued me with their traditions that they had brought over with them across the Atlantic. And it went forward from there. And then one day I walked into Woolworths and I see this LP, Songs and Sounds of Faraway Places. I was hooked and I wanted to hear everything I could get my ears on. After working in Chicago in many different contexts, in theater, in studio recordings, in the jingle industry, I came in contact with a lot of great musicians from all different corners of the world. And at the end of my stay in Chicago, after 11 or 12 years, I approached the Steppenwolf Theater and said, I want to put together an immigrant orchestra, the Chicago Immigrant Orchestra. They loved the idea, and I explained to them the concept, and they gave me the funding, and I put together the concert, 23 musicians from many, many different countries, and it was a huge success. A few years later, I was invited back to Chicago from Germany to conduct the Immigrant Orchestra once again. And we were joined this time by the 60-voice Chicago Children's Choir in front of something like 15,000 people at this brand new pavilion. Very thrilling. The following year, 2005, I decided to try and do the same back in Bremen, here where I live. And it wasn't that difficult to put together the Bremen Immigrant Orchestra.
Ich will feiern, als ob's kein Morgen gäbe. Du riechst fantastisch, bist mehr als knackfrisch. Du fühlst dich gut an. Komm näher ran.
Y no se me crean dueños del mal. Les va a dar un chubascazo, vaya que baño, miren nomás. Isa que auf Wiedersehen, ja kommen wieder. Wir sind die Musikanten von
Ashilato fona halebaya Lona fele shishinu monde Ashilato fona halebaya Lona fele.
So what's so special about the Immigrant Orchestra? Well, for instance, a Chinese musician plays a Chilean piece. A Kurd plays an American piece that has its roots in the traditional music of Kashmir. In this way, the Immigrant Orchestra is a sort of model for a multicultural society. Our music takes the issue of mutual respect for granted.
This old world is full of sorrow, full of sickness, weak and sore. If you love your neighbor, truly love will come to you the more. Elizabeth is one.